Thank you for joining VirtualPBX admin training. If you're a vConsole customer, we no longer provide the live trainings for vConsole. However, we do have a recorded training that you can always access. If you go to virtualpbx.com site under support, and you select the vConsole support, that gets you to this page here. And if you scroll down about halfway, the advanced admin training, that's the training for our vConsole customers. And down below, we have the guides for various features and devices related to vConsole. Likewise, for our Dash customers, we have a Dash support page. Here you can see the status page, basically letting you know everything's okay, or if we're having an issue, and the link here to get to the full status page. We also have training videos here. The new user training here is the full training session that we're going over here, so you can always review it at any time. And likewise, you can always sign up for a training, or if you have additional staff that you want to have go through this, they can either watch the video or sign up for a new training. And then further down, we have the guides related to Dash. So Dash features, Dash devices. All right, from support, we have a login page for either platform, but we're on Dash, so go ahead and go to that page. All right, login is your email and your account name. Which is normally your company name, and then your password. Now, if you ever forget, you can just click on Forgot Your Information, and then click on Sign In. Oh, looks like I have invalid credentials. Looks like I misspelled my test account's name. All right, and here we are on the dashboard. Now, if you just signed up for Dash, the wizard will come up. It's going to be basically telling you a general feature set of things going on. Once you close out of it, then you can get to the dashboard. Now, it's possible here for admins, especially, you have this hamburger menu at the top right, the 3 horizontal lines. So we're on the dashboard. Queues. This is where you would go to set up ACD queues. For your users, they may also have queue access, but that's for them to log in and out of the queue. Blacklists. This is a way to block phone numbers from reaching your system. Basically, someone calls and harasses you and your staff. You get the caller ID. You put them on the list. Faxes. This is the fax manager. As an admin, you have access to all the faxes that come in and out of the system. Recordings, this goes to your call recordings. So if you've enabled call recording for your users or your ring groups, this is where you would go to go get them. The user portal, this is what every user has access to. Basically, most of them would use this to access their voicemail or to set up call forwarding. So if their VoIP phone goes down, they can send calls to their cell phone, for example. The voicemail manager, again, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box. And then webhooks, if you're making use of webhooks, basically that means you're using an API to connect Dash to some other software. We're primarily going to be starting in the dashboard, and then we'll go to some of those others as we get through everything. So on this page here, you have total users. These are all the people on your account. These are people who make and receive calls. They'll have features available to them, like call forwarding, for example, for those who want to, like if their VoIP phones go down, they can forward calls to their cell phone. Down below here, we have your total devices and the breakdown of those devices, i.e. soft phone versus a cell phone versus a SIP phone, which is a physical VoIP phone. And unregistered means the system, as far as the system knows, the device is not connected to us, or we simply don't know. Usually that's going to be for your VoIP phones, and they'll show up as red on the devices. Over here we have your main numbers, and you have more than two. You can have several if you want. All of your main numbers will behave the same way, meaning that they all have the same main greeting that will play. They'll all route the same way. Next, here's the fax box number. This is so you can accept inbound faxes. On some accounts, if we have conferencing, you can also have a main conference number, which would handle any conference calling you're going to have. Down below here, we have total numbers, and then it's split between spare numbers and assigned numbers. Assigned numbers means you're using them. They go someplace, right? So they're a main number. They go directly to a user. They go to a ring group. They go directly to an ACD queue, right? They end up going to someone so someone can answer a call. Spare numbers, you're not using them. They're on your account. You're still being charged for them, but you don't have them ringing currently to anything, i.e. it's for future growth. Further breakdown here is between U.S. local numbers and U.S. toll-free. If you have international numbers, there would be another section there for that as well. And we have the company directory. So your users don't have to be in the company directory. You can choose to have them in there when you first create them, or just add them later or remove them later through the users page, which we'll get to shortly. Your account ID. This is essentially your account number. Typically, if you're calling into support or to our billing team, for example, we'll ask you for your company name. If you email us, you can include the account ID number, and we can look you up that way. But generally speaking, we mostly just get the company name to find you. Account realm, right down here. This is used for a couple of different things. One, it's used for programming a third-party VoIP device, meaning a software application that's not from us, or a VoIP phone that does not show up under the SIP phone list. It's also used for outbound faxing. We use email to send out an outbound fax. It needs to be a PDF or TIFF. And then the subject line, or the to field of that email is +1 area code and phone number that you're faxing to, and then the @ symbol, and then this domain. Okay, up here we have the company caller ID. It's going to be based off of one of your main numbers. You have the company caller ID name, or CNAME. This is restricted to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters, and that's an industry standard. Basically, once you add it here and click Save Changes, we transmit that information to the other carriers in North America who support CNAME, and they update their servers. That can take anywhere, usually about 3 business days. Can take a little bit longer sometimes, but normally it's about 3 business days. So then when you make an outbound call from your VoIP phone, that information will show up as part of the caller ID information. Now, a couple little caveats. First, not every carrier in North America supports CNAME, which means if a call happens to route through one of those carriers, the CNAME information won't go through. There's nothing we can do about that. The other concern is even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's the lowest priority, right? Their primary concern first and foremost is connecting the call, right? Then next up is the caller ID, the actual phone number that shows up. And then lastly, the CNAME, right? So if there's heavier than expected call volume, CNAME is the first thing that goes out, right? If they're having some sort of server or scheduled maintenance, right? Again, CNAME will probably be the first thing that they drop off. Last thing, in today's era where people can program their phones, if you call a device that has your company phone number programmed into it, whatever that person named that phone number will always take precedence over whatever we send. All right, down below here, you have the company emergency E911 address. Basically, if you pick up a VoIP phone, dial 911, this is the default address information that is sent to emergency services. obviously you want to make sure this is correct. Now, if you have remote staff, that's fine. You can set up E911 for each device. And then any changes, click on Save Changes. Hold music. So this is the default hold music for the account. Basically, on Dash, hold music is after a call has connected to somebody. Right? Call comes in, they can hear a main greeting, and then they'll hear ringing. One of your staff members pick up, they're talking, and then, oh, I need to put you on hold from it. They press hold on their phone, on their VoIP phone. This will be the default hold music that plays. You can upload your own file. Dash accepts both MP3 and .wav. You want to make sure that the file is recorded in mono, not in stereo, and that the file size currently is restricted to 1 megabyte. So a 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes long. And then you would simply browse on your computer, find the file, and then click on this little blue and white icon here to upload the file. Once it's done uploading, you would click on Save Changes, and the file is there. If you've already uploaded anything, all your files will be there to choose from as well. So like if you, during the holidays, you have holiday music, but then after the holidays, you can switch it back. All right, so then we'll go to hours. So hours is actually part of the main number. All right, so first we have office hours strategy. For a new account, you're set up as 24-hour open office. Now you can change that and simply change it to the custom office hours. Each day of the week, put a check mark. Each day of the week that you're open, put a check mark in front of that day. Then in the boxes to the right, you want to set your open hours in 24-hour military time. Right, you can just select from the drop-down menus. One thing to keep in mind down here, if your whole office or business is closed for lunch, you want to put a check mark here, right? Are you closed for lunch? And then enter your lunch hour. So that way automatically the system knows, oh, office is at lunch, we'll go ahead and put you in lunch mode. And then go ahead and click on Save Changes. Next up, we have office holidays. You can set your office holidays in advance. One thing to notice here is that there's no year entry. So anything that changes from year to year, like President's Day, you're going to need to adjust each year. All right, so you click on Add Holiday, Single Day, which would be President's Day. Click the month, click the day, you would click Save Changes. Now, say after it is expired, right, so it's after February 20th, on the 21st, I probably don't want to do anything with it, right? Because typically, usually, until you look at the calendar, basically determine if next year is the 21st, you don't want to change it to the 21st, for example. But then, say at March, you can come back in and change it, and it won't affect your system at all. All right, date range. So we'll go down here to Christmas. So now you can set a range of dates. So December 22nd to 26th, the system's going to be in holiday mode, essentially closed. Or at least a lot of companies will be a version of closed, but they may have special hours, so you can adjust it specifically for this time. The caveat here is because there is no year for a date range, you don't want a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You would want to do those individually. Right. And then lastly, we have advanced. Oops. That's this one here. And basically, I'm saying the second Monday in March, we're closed and office retreat. Again, click on Save Changes. All right, now we probably go to the most important one, incoming call handling. So first thing to notice is that you have sub-tabs underneath here, right? So open hours, or when you're open. Lunch, i.e. what's the system going to do when you're on lunch. After hours, when you're closed, what's the system doing when you're closed, and then your holiday. So the first option here is call comes in, goes to your virtual receptionist, and this is a link. When we click on that, it will load, and here's how where you're setting up for virtual receptionist. So on the left is the main menu. This is what your customers press on their phones to navigate through your phone system. Now, to adjust it, you would click on Add Route. You pick a number available, and then you have options. So, because of this account, it's so big, there's a lot of options. But, so users, so you can have it go to a specific person and ring their devices. Right? This account has call queues, so I can have an option go to one of the ACD queues. You can have a device go to a specific, or a menu option go to a specific device. You can also have it go to play to or go to a media file, so then a media file plays. The downside of the media file is that after the file plays, it ends the call. Not typically recommended. Right? You can have it go to a ring group, like a department, basically a number of people. This is where you can make use of blast ringing to have like 5 people's phones ring at the same time. And then you can have it go to a voicemail box. So they can either leave a message, but it's also a good way to give like hours of operation, for example. All right. In fact, we'll go ahead and we'll send it to the ring group here for June 2019. All right. Over here on the right, these are your greeting options. So these are the main greetings that's going to play on your main numbers because the calls are right now going to the virtual receptionist. Text-to-speech, you type in what you want the system to say, you click update, you would click save, and then you also hit save changes. But basically, you can type in your greeting, and it's going to be available right away. If it doesn't sound right, you can come back here, edit the greeting, hit update again, and you're ready to go. You can upload your own file, right? So again, system takes .mp3 or .wav files up to 1 megabyte. Again, make sure it's recorded in mono, not in stereo. So when you listen to a recording over the phone, a phone is a mono-aural device. And if you have a stereo file playing, you hear a lot of static. You can choose from the existing recordings on the system. Again, that's great for changing from holiday mode to normal mode. You can call the system and record it over the phone. Now, by default, the system is expecting to call from a VoIP phone that's already on the system. If you want to call from a cell phone, that is something you can do. However, you need to contact our support team. We have to enable that for you. Usually we enable that for like an hour, and then we turn it back off. The reason is because basically when we turn it on, anyone can call into your system, and if they happen to get the PIN right, they can change your greeting. So as a security feature, we don't like having that open all the time. Professional recording services. We've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. You click order here, it opens up the tab to their page. The advantage here is they have several different packages. So they can just do a main greeting for you, but they can also do a main greeting mixed with audio files. They have something like 100 voice actors to choose from, male and female. You've got various versions of English, you have Spanish, you've got 2 versions of French, and then options for bilingual. They handle their own billing. They handle the delivery, which should be via email. And then once you get the file, you would simply go to upload your own file. Now, any changes you make on this tab, sorry, I forgot settings. Number of retries on misdial. Basically, someone hears your main greeting, they didn't catch it. How many times do you want the main greeting to play? And basically, how many times are you giving that person a chance to hit the right option? So you can just type in a number. I usually say 2 or 3. That's usually enough for most people. to pick up your greeting to find out the option they want, right? Just in case they have kids screaming in the background or something like that. So any changes you make either on the main menu or in your greetings, you want to click Save here. But then you also want to click Save Changes here. That way, all your changes get saved. If you only hit the Save on the initial box and not the Save Changes, you actually break the incoming call routing, and calls won't be able to get through. All right, option B here, call comes into a user, then goes to virtual receptionist. You can also choose a ring group. You can choose your queues, a media file, and then that's it. Okay. Just making sure something hadn't changed on me. Basically, you're giving someone or a group of people a chance to answer the call. If they're not able to take that call, then the caller goes to the virtual receptionist so then they can enter a menu option. And then this virtual receptionist has the same options that we already have labeled over here. All right. Box C, call comes into a user or again to a ring group. I think you can also have it go to a device. Oh, and queues, devices, media file, and groups. Or this last one here, skip to voicemail. All right, so someone has a chance to answer the call. If they don't, goes to voicemail. Now, one thing to keep in mind about this option, actually both of these, B and C, is when call hit the users or that ring group or the queue, it's only going to be ringing for 20 seconds, and then it goes to that next action. And that's hard-coded into the system. And again, you have these same options for all of your subtabs here. So you can have different kinds of routings for lunch versus after hours, etc. All right, your main fax box number. I don't know if it'll let me edit my fax box. I think last time it gave me an error. So normally, when you click Edit Fax Box, you can put in your email address or the email address of the person you want to get the incoming faxes. They get it as a PDF file. In terms of sending faxes out, you're going to want to, if you have a domain, so you own, at abc.com, right? That happens, or abccompany.com, right? That's your domain. You can say, hey, email support at VirtualPBX saying, hey, I want this domain so that all my staff can send a fax out. They will adjust your system and let you do that. That should also be showing up on this at the fax box page. I have to dig in and find out why that's not happening here. So we'll go over to numbers. So numbers, these are the numbers on your account. You can disregard these red ones because those were porting attempts. But basically, this lets you know where they're going and what they're doing. If you see call flows, that's either going to an ACD queue or to your fax box. Otherwise, you see they're going to people, main number. There should be some that are going to office, to ring groups. And then you have your main conference number. Spare numbers, these are numbers you're not currently using, but again, you are being charged for. If you no longer want to use a number, you would click a check mark, click delete, confirm the deletion, says successful, and numbers off your account. For any number that you're using and that you want to get rid of, you need to unassign it first. So let's find one I can unassign here. Oh, Johnny Depp here doesn't need 2 phone numbers. So right here, you can see I can only adjust it this way. I have to go actually to Johnny Depp's user to remove the phone number before I can delete it. That's why I kind of wanted to show you that for a reason. However, let's go back to spare numbers real quick. This is also where you add numbers to your account. So by number, you click here, you got local or toll free. You enter in an area code. Let's go with 702 for Las Vegas. These are the numbers you're available. You would just click add, and you can add multiple numbers, and then you would click on by numbers, and that would add the numbers to your account. Again, the system verifies that the number is truly available, and then adds it to your account. Same thing applies for toll-free. Now, if you just signed up with VirtualPBX and you don't have any phone numbers, and you click buy, you're not going to be charged for adding phone numbers, right? Your account comes with at least one phone number, if not two or three. It's just how the engineers decided this is how you add numbers. They use the word buy. All right, port numbers, this means you're moving a number from another carrier to VirtualPBX. So we'll say from AT&T to VirtualPBX. You can actually go through the entire process of getting the document to us through your portal here. Unfortunately, this process is also why, if we go back over here, I have these three numbers here that are red because it says, hey, it's kind of on the account, but not really. So let's go back to port page. Of this guide here on our site, because this has the screenshots that we're going to need. So there's a porting FAQ. You're going to add the phone number. Main things to keep in mind right here is essentially for a port to complete, you need an account on both ends of the port to be active/open. Right. So you need a VirtualPBX account. So because you have to have an account to receive the number, and then whoever you're porting from, that account needs to be active so that they can remove the number. Once the port's complete, VirtualPBX would let you know, hey, your port's completed. We have the number. We have verified that it's with us and it's working. Right, you get that's part of the email that you get from us. Once you have that email from us, right, we do encourage you to make a test call, make sure it works the way you want it. Even though we've already tested it, we like, just so that way you know that it's working. At that point, if you want to close the account with the other carrier, you can do so. But you want to make sure that port has completed. Now, what we need is a phone bill, so a copy of your phone bill, and we need an LOA, letter of agency. Those are the two documents we need. If for some reason the dashboard doesn't let you upload the documents, or if you get an error message, you can always email porting at VirtualPBX with your LOA and your copy of the bill, and we can still process your port. All right, you don't have to do it through the dashboard. All right, so let's go to users. This is where you add users. Handy enough, there's a little add user button at the top. So you need to input a first name and a last name, and each user needs to have a unique email address, right? So if Bob is using support at virtualpbx.com, Mary cannot be added to the same account using support at virtualpbx.com. She would need a different email address. You create a password. You give it a main extension number. Now, I started this account with extension 1000. So the system, every time I add a new user to the account, it just adds the next available 1000 series extension number that's available. So if you started at 8000, then the next one would be 8001, for example. Here's your option to include the user directory, yes or no, by checking in mark. Send emails to an alternate address. Basically, by default, it's going to send it any notification and the creation to this email address up here that you used for the user. If you have the alternate address, that's just an additional email that we're sending to, but that's not going to let them log in. It's just notifications are also sent to this other email address. And then this is the most important checkbox right here, is send credentials to the user. I.e., you hit create, system says, oh, here's that email address, we're sending them the information so they can log in. All right, so let's go down to Johnny Depp here. So if you click on a name, you got some information. So one, you can always change the person's name, so you can reuse an extension. I typically recommend just, if staff member leaves, just delete the extension completely and create a new one, and then you can reuse the extension number again. If you click change, you can change credentials, including the email address and the password. Right down here, so if you have one of your staff members can't log in, they completely forget the password, you can click right here, and the system will send them a password recovery email. And essentially says, hey, create a new password. So then to log them in. Voicemail box. Especially if people want to set up their voicemail box over the phone, you want to make sure there's a PIN number. And then that way they can just dial in, enter the PIN, and then set up their voicemail box. Send emails to an alternate address. Again, this is just an additional address. Special. I can remove them from the user directory here if I want to. Obviously, right down here is the option to delete the user. Over here, admin or user. So by default, anyone you add new to the account is going to be a user, right? They're not going to have admin access. Now, you can always change them to be an admin. That's fine. One thing to keep in mind, if you're a new account and it's your first time logging in, you do not want to change yourself from an admin to a user. Because then when you log out, try to log back in again, you only have user access. Right, this is your time zone. You can just use account default or change it to where the person actually is. Language, again, default, or choose a specific language. Ringing timeout. So this is the default amount of time that the system will ring the various devices on this user. And the default starts at 20 seconds. If you have users who are making use of cell phones, specifically as their primary devices, you want to up this to at least 30 seconds, if not 45 seconds. Most of the time, 20 seconds will be enough. They'll at least hear a ring or two. But if there's any heavy call traffic or they have poor signal strength, it won't be enough. And what will happen is the system will say, hey, we tried to reach this device on this user for 20 seconds. The person will say, my phone never rang, but I got the voicemail notification after the fact. So if you increase the ringing timeout here, they will have a chance to actually answer the call that comes in. And that's simply put, it takes longer for a call to route to a cell phone than it does to, say, a VoIP phone or a landline, because every time a call is routed to a cell phone, your cell phone provider has to find you. And then the main extension that's associated with this particular user. The next box over is extensions. So I can unassign this extension if I want to. I can add another extension to a user. Typically, most people only need one extension number. The extension that I normally use is our VP of sales. He has several extensions on his user, and it's because he's had some turnover over the years. So he wanted to make sure that, as staff members left, any potential client who called in, he would at least get the message, so then he can either reach out or have one of the new salespeople reach out to that potential client. Obviously, at some point, he then gets rid of those extensions because either he reused them for a new staff member or gave them a brand new extension. Next up is the phone number box. So this is a phone number that rings directly to this user. If I want to assign it, I can do so right here. Oops, excuse me. You can always add additional numbers to a user from your spare number list, or you can simply just buy directly here. All right, next we have devices. So this will tell you the devices you have on the account. the system will show you two devices. Now, red means that the device is not connected. All right, so as far as we're concerned, that we can try to send a call to it, but it's not going to connect, so it's basically a waste of time. If it's green, that means as far as we know, it's a valid device, i.e. it's a cell phone, it should be working. So we will try to ring that device. And then black up here, that means it's disabled. We don't know if it's enabled or if it's connected or not, but on Dash, it's disabled, so it's not going to be offered a call. Okay, you can always add from spare devices. That means devices you already have on the account, or you can add a new device. Let's scroll down. All right, SIP phone. These are physical VoIP phones. These manufacturers are ones that support, or that Dash supports, what we refer to as auto provisioning. Basically a relatively simple, as far as provisioning steps go, way of getting these phones on the account. You would click on your manufacturer. You would find your model of phone. Then on the back of your phone, okay, first you give it a name, so like Bob's phone. And then on the back here, on the back of the phone, there should be a MAC address, normally labeled MAC, sometimes labeled serial number. Usually it's also on the box that the phone came in. That's an alphanumeric string, and I believe it's 12 characters. But it's basically set up like this. And then you would create device. Now, as far as Dash is concerned, you're done on your dashboard. However, on the phone, you would still need to log into the phone's web interface. And we have guides on our website for the various manufacturers, what you would need to do. But you would get the phone's interface set up. The phone will reboot. It'll connect to us. It'll download the configuration file, and then your phone's ready to use. And this means you can use basically all the features on the phone itself versus just basic call functionality. Right, cell phone and landline are basically the same. Give it the device name, and then you put the number, +1 area code and phone number. You would click Create Device. Now, you also have some additional options. First one here, that's unchecked. Allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So by default, when Dash offers a call to a cell phone or a landline, when you pick up, you're going to hear a message saying, "This is a forwarded call. Please press 1." By pressing 1, you're letting the system know you're actually there to accept the call. And then it connects you. If you don't want to press 1 and you don't want to have that delay of listening for the message, you put a check mark here, you would click, well, there would be save changes because I haven't actually created this device yet. So then when the call gets offered to your cell phone, you just pick up and you can start talking. Downside is that means your inbound caller, they come in and you don't pick up and your cell phone voicemail picks up, that inbound caller ends up on your cell phone voicemail. Maybe you're fine with that. Maybe you don't want that. That's up to you. Keep original caller ID. So when call comes in on your cell phone, with this box checked, you're going to see that customer's phone number show up on your cell phone. Right? If you uncheck this, then what you'll see is your company main number or the ID number that they called into, i.e. one of your business phone numbers. So that would be an easy way for you to determine, oh, this is a business call versus, my friend Joe calling me to go get a beer. And then hide from contact list. This is so it doesn't show up on the user directory for your other staff members to see. All right, soft phone. So please read this message. It's basically saying, hey, make sure you have E911 set up on it. You close. All right, so you give it a name. Then you have this user and this password. Now, this setup right here is for if you're using a soft phone application that's not from VirtualPBX. Right, so say Xlite from Counterpath. You would use this information to set up that application You could also use this information to set up a VoIP phone that didn't show up on the list from the SIP phone list. Right, so you have like a Grandstream phone that wasn't on the list, or a Yealing phone that was on that list. You would use these credentials to program that. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone app, right down here, you would click. Now you just need to put a device name and click on Create Device. What this does is, because we're on a user, and this is for the VirtualPBX soft phone, you want to make sure you're on the user page to do this. You hit Create Device. The system then creates a soft phone. Great and wonderful. And also emails that user their login information to use the soft phone app. They can then download that app on their iPhone or their Android phone. If you want the desktop versions of our VirtualPBX app, you do have to purchase. It's actually a license fee, and you can do that through the store. I believe it's currently on sale for like $32. But then, yeah, you would click Create Device. By the way, you can always get to the store through this link up here. Oh. There we go. And normally I just do a search for soft phone. So there's the Mac OS and there's the Windows, and yeah, $31.99. All right, web phone. This is technically a type of VoIP phone, just as a soft phone is. You would create a name, and you give it, then you click on Create Device. Again, you have to do this on a user, so it's associated with a specific user. This allows your users to use their web browser, specifically right now that is restricted to Chrome and Firefox, on a PC or Mac, to make and receive calls. Now, it's basic phone use, right? There's not a lot of fancy features. In fact, I don't even think, last I checked, we could not transfer from the web phone. Basically, you can pick up a call, you can make a call. That's pretty much what it's at. It's not fully supported on mobile devices. For instance, even if you have Chrome or Firefox on an iPhone, we've had inconsistent usage availability for it on iPhones. I was able to make a call and receive a call on my Android phone using Chrome, but as I was talking to our engineers, like, yes, it works sometimes, but it could break at any time. Basically, if you have any update to your apps. The engineers are working on an update to the web phone. I don't know all the features that they're including or what expanded browsers they're going to have, but that's on their list of things to add. So SIP phone, the web phone, and the soft phones, those all count as VoIP phones, which means these are devices you can use with ACD queues. Keep that in mind. Landline is the same as the cell phone. Fax and ATA are rarely used. Fax would be a digital fax machine, which last time I looked were like $500 each. And then ATA would be an adapter to use an analog phone on your internet connection, which at that point we typically do recommend just going to a VoIP phone since it's designed to work that way. All right, over here we have the features box. All right, so first the caller ID number. Now, this only works if the user has a phone number on their user, referred to as a DID. And you click Save Changes. So what this means is, if I pick up a VoIP phone and call out, this is the caller ID that's going to be used instead of the company number. All right, call forwarding. Basically, my VoIP phone stopped working, i.e. I lost internet, maybe, or the phone itself is just died. It's like, oh, not working no more. I can set up call forwarding, so calls that still come to my user will be sent then to my cell phone or my landline. The cool thing, I think, anyway, is this feature right here, failover mode. Basically, system detects your VoIP phone lost connection. Calls to your user will automatically get sent to your cell phone. All right, you say, hey, set up the mobile. Here's my cell phone number. Click Save Changes. Now, the main thing to remember is for call forwarding, the number that you're forwarding to, so that cell phone or landline, cannot be a device on the user. Right? So basically, you have primarily a VoIP phone, and then if there's a problem with that VoIP phone, you can use call forwarding to a device that's not on the account. Right. Hot desking, if you enable this, this is a VoIP phone feature as well. You create a PIN number or hot desk ID number, for example. So what this does is, in a situation where you have an office space where your staff members can rotate desks from day to day, right? So on Monday, Bob is at desk number 32. But Tuesday, he's on desk 7. Well, he still wants to get his calls, and you as his boss would want him to get his calls. What he can do is, on the VoIP phone at either desk that he's at, he picks up the phone, he dials *11, and he can log in over the phone. You need to use this hot desk ID, hangs up, and the system will tell him, you're now logged into this phone. So calls that go to Bob's user will get sent to the phone that he's sitting at. And if it's day, picks up the phone, hits *12 to log out. That way that phone doesn't keep ringing while he's not there. And then Tuesday he comes in, new desk, or a different desk, different phone. Again, hits *11 to log in, etc. So useful if you have a shared office space like that where people can rotate desks. You don't have to have a PIN, but you can as well. Voicemails, every user has a voicemail box. Fax box, you can set up users to have their own fax boxes. If you enable it, you can select a specific phone number, which is recommended if you're going to do this. You can also set it up as an extension. The downside of setting up it as an extension is you're expecting that inbound caller, or in this case, inbound faxer, to call your main number and then know that extension number. When they hit that extension number, that's when they hit start fax on their fax machine. Depending on the fax machine, the person, that might be normal for them. But from what I've seen among customers or customer feedback is most people, they go to a fax machine, they enter the fax number, hit send fax, and walk away. That's why it's best if you just have a dedicated fax number for the user to go to their fax box is the recommended option. Follow me. This is what you use when you have multiple devices on a user. If you click enable. Now, by default, the first time you look at this, all your devices are set to do not ring. You enable it, you uncheck the boxes, and then now you have little sliders so you can adjust what rings when. You can also move the devices. You can click distribute, like so. And again, you can still adjust the sliders. The main thing you want to avoid is something like this, where there's a break between the devices. Because basically what happens is after that first device stops ringing, the system says, I don't know what to do, and sends the caller to voicemail in that time between the two devices. So you want to have at least that same break there, if not just a little bit of overlap, just to give yourself a little safety margin. Music on hold, your individual users can have their own hold music. And again, this is when they put a caller on hold. Any of the files you have are available. You can upload new ones. Again, click on Save Changes. All right, customized call recording. So users all have options to record calls. So inbound internal, that means another user is calling this user, right? So Bob is calling Mary. They're both colleagues on the same account. And in this case, I'm not recording, the system is not recording those calls, right? You don't care about that internal communication. Right, now inbound external means customers calling to Bob. Bob picks up, the system is recording that call. Right, outbound internal, again, Bob's calling Mary. The system doesn't care, it's not going to record it. Bob's calling customer, you're recording that call. And again, you can always adjust it per user. And that's the user features. Then go on to ring groups. So ring groups are essentially for departments or groups of people who handle the same kind of calls. It's fairly simple call routing. And we'll go ahead and add a group. So one, you want to give it a name. And we'll call it with July, since that's coming up. And then you want to give it an extension number. And that's the extension number is for your staff members to be able to transfer calls to that ring group, right? Basically, someone hit the wrong option or got transferred to the wrong group, and they're, oh, no, you need to speak to this other group. Let me transfer you to them. And then you click and drag your users that you want in this group. You click on Create Group. Now, once it's created, you can click on the name of the group. You can always change the name. And then dialing repeats. This is how many times that inbound caller can go through that group. And you can just click on the little arrows to the right up here to increase that. I don't know if there's an upper limit. I usually say, 2 or 3 times is typically enough, but again, that's up to you. And you click on Save Changes. Now, click on Members. Up here is your total time that you will allow the call to be in the ring group. And you can adjust that up. This is measured in seconds. Now, right now, the current thing is that all these people are running for 20 seconds. After that 20 seconds, the caller will be sent in through again, right, because of the dialing repeats. But after that last repeat, that's it. It's not going to give it's not giving them the whole 120 seconds. Now you can click Distribute up here. So now, basically, every 17 seconds is ringing somebody. And then after that 120-second mark, it goes back to the beginning. But again, these are all sliders, so you can adjust people as you see fit. All right, as you notice, you can change the order around if you need to. Of course, mostly you need that if you're going to distribute it. So basically, if you want it in sequence, you would use distribute. If you want blast ringing for everyone, you would do something like this. So what this does is calls that are coming into this group, right? They're ringing everybody and then someone picks up. That call is then handled by whoever picked up. The next call that comes in is still going to ring everybody, even that person who's on a call. They'll get like a call waiting beep. So basically that person's like, hey, when do you guys answer the call already? So that would be one of the drawbacks for a ring group. Right, you can always have a phone number go directly to a ring group, either adding from spare numbers or buying. And over here we have group features. All right, call recording. Do you want to record calls to the group? Yes or no? Hit enable. And then click Save Changes. And that's all calls that come into the group are being recorded at that time. Ringback, this is essentially hold music while people are waiting to have a call answered, right? So by default, they're just hearing ringing, right? But you can hit enable and then upload a file or choose one that you already have. Next action. So after the repeats going through the system, what do you want the system to do with that call because no one picked up? Right? You can have it go to back to your virtual receptionist, right? The main open hours, or have it go to a voicemail box or to a specific user. I normally say just have it go to a voicemail box. All right, allow call forward. Basically, if your users are making use of call forwarding, you're allowing calls that go to this group to go to that forwarded device. Right? If this is disabled, it only is going to ring their primary devices versus the user call forwarding. And then caller ID prepend. This is for VoIP phones. Anytime you see prepend, that's for a VoIP phone feature. And what it does is allow you to give either text additional information that will show up on the caller ID or numerical information that will show up on the caller ID. So basically, on the phones, they'll see, 4th or July, whatever you want to put in for the text. So that way, your staff members are, oh, this is for this ring group, and they know kind of what they're going to be talking about. All right, devices. This is your whole devices page. Again, red means, as far as we know, it's not connected. Green means calls to it should work. Black, it's disabled on the system, as you can see. It shows you all the devices. You can add devices here. However, you do not want to add the web phone here, nor would you want to add the VirtualPBX soft phone here. But anything else, you can add here. All right, the web phone and VirtualPBX soft phone, you want to add via the users page. Voicemail boxes. Again, every user has a voicemail box. If you want to create a voicemail box, you would do that for, say, your ring groups. So that way you don't have to reuse someone's personal voicemail box for it. Basically, you give it a name, a box number, and a PIN. And then you would create a new one. We'll go down to one of these. Click on the little wrench icon. All right. So if you manually create a box, you're going to want to get a greeting file either usually uploaded to it. You can record over the phone. You just need to make sure you have a PIN set up for it ahead of time. Recipients. Again, you would add a new recipient and you put an email address here. So basically, whoever, and you can add multiple, but basically, voicemail gets to this box. This is who's getting notified. And then options. You would use already set up once you have a voicemail greeting on there. And those are the major things. Oops. Feature codes. So I kind of referenced this on hot desking. From a VoIP phone, you can use any of these. You can make use of these codes. Basically, star and something. These codes are also on our website, so you don't actually have to log in and go to the feature codes page. You can just go to virtualpbx.com. But if you're making use of queues, this is how agents can log in from the phone versus the website. Call forwarding, so this is how your users can set up call forwarding just from their phone versus logging in. Hot desking and others. Next up, we have the call logs. This is essentially your raw call data that's coming in and out of your system. So you have the date and the time, from which user it went to, how long it lasted. Normal clearing means the call ended normally, like there wasn't something weird that happened as far as the system is concerned. Oops, excuse me. All right, now you can click on it, and this little gear icon can give you some technical details. For most people, this is kind of hard to read, actually very hard to read. But you can always send this information to us if you're having weird call behavior, and we can try to dig into it. But here, so this was a fax that was actually coming into the system, and then the call dropped prematurely. Basically, a random fax number was trying to fax to this phone number, which was going to a user, which wasn't set up for it. So the call ended in this particular case. And then you've got different timestamps to work with. All right, let's go over to queues. So as an admin, you would use appear to add a new queue. And once doing so, you would have this kind of page. So you'd give it a name. You can either give it a phone number that goes directly to it or an extension number. Queue routing. So these are more advanced options of routing versus a ring group. Now, bear in mind that ACD queues have a cost associated. I believe it starts at $30, depending on the plan. All right, round robin is essentially random. It will equalize over time among the users who are in. Least calls means the next call that comes in the queue will go to the person who's had the least amount of connected calls, meaning they've spoken to the least amount of people. Least offers, by contrast, is who's been offered the least amount of calls. Doesn't mean they connected. It just means, Bob's Bob's been offered 35 calls. Mary's only been offered 5. Well, Mary's getting the next call that comes in. And if they're the only 2 people in the queue, Mary's going to continue to get calls until she equals Bob. Obviously, if Mary's on a call, Bob will get a call that comes in at that time. And then most idle means who's been waiting for the call the longest. All right. Hold treatment, basically, you can have music, and you can upload a file, again, MP3 or WAV. Queue timeout, this is how much hold time someone can wait in the queue, measured in seconds. Queue call limit, basically how many people you're allowing to wait on hold. 0 meaning there's no limit. Queue timeout if empty, basically if you have no agents in, how long are you letting people wait? Or basically just send them off. Escalation queue. You can use escalation queues as a way of skills-based ranking. So you have your group that, hey, these are the people that I want to get calls first. If they're all busy or aren't able to answer calls, then you can have an escalation queue go to another group of people who could then take the call. Or you click it to none and then say, hey, after the timeout, what do you want them to do? I'm sending them to a voicemail box. Or none, basically call ends. Agent recovery time, call ends, how much time do they have to get a sip of water, finish their notes on the ticket, what have you. Force away on rejected or missed. If you enable this, basically means if your agent misses a call, then the system will automatically put them in away mode, meaning they won't be able to accept calls until they actually log back in, either through the website or through the phone to make themselves ready again. And then agent connected timeout, basically how much time a call is going to be offered to an agent or a user. And then this is a queue monitor. If this was an actual system, you would see agents actually logged in. So you'd have 2 of 2, and you would be able to see their status, which unfortunately we can't see in this case. One thing to keep in mind for ACD queues, the users have to have VoIP devices to be offered calls in queues. If they have a mix of devices, so they have VoIP phones and a cell phone, for example, when calls get offered to them from the queue, their cell phone will not ring. It will only be offered to the web devices. All right, let's go to blacklists. So blacklists, as I mentioned before, a long time ago now, this is how you block calls from coming into your system. You click Edit Blacklists, Edit Lists. You choose the list you want to work on, give it a name, and then you would add a phone number. So +1 area code and number. You click Add, and then you click Save. Then you go back to Settings. Now, available means that they're available for use. Selected means those are the ones that are actually in use. So you click and drag that list over. You click Update, and now those 2 block lists are enabled. You don't have to have multiple lists. You can just have one long one. That's purely up to you. Faxes, again, this is going to the fax box manager. You can select any fax box on the system and see what they're doing fax-wise. And then the email to fax logs lets you know what's going on. If you click on the little eye here, for example, it will tell you why. Basically saying, hey, there's no fax box here. That's why it didn't work. All right. Recordings just goes to Recordings Manager. I don't actually have proper access to that on this account. Or actually, it's blocked because I'm on a VPN. So this is the user portal. So every user has this. They can see their voicemails. They can check their call history. They can see their fax history, contact list, which would be the user, essentially the user directory. And this is typically just users or voicemail boxes on the account. That's not something they can import into. Conference, if you have conferencing enabled, this is where they handle their conferencing. Add, this is inviting people, other Dash account users into the system. Lock means you're locking conferencing so no one else can join. Mute, you're muting everybody. Unmute, and then hang up, meaning you're ending the conference. If you actually have a conference going on participants, you actually have the option to kick somebody as well as mute specific people. And then settings and devices, this is where you go for, on the web interface, to say enable call forwarding or not. Now notice you don't have the failover mode. This is saying I just want this on because you know you're not going to be by your vape phone, for example. And then voicemails. This is the voicemail box manager. You can see the various voicemails that are on the account. And that is everything. Oh, just one other note. This right here will take you to the web phone. So again, the web phone uses your email and same login credentials as your Dash account. To the dashboard. And that is all the features on Dash. So I want to thank you today for joining me. Again, you can always sign up for another session if you need it, or you have other staff members who need to watch it. We have that recorded video, which should be covering everything as well. If you need to ever contact support, the phone number is 888-825-0800. Option 2 will get you to support. Option 4 is to account services, which is basically if you want to change your plan or you want more information on plan options, including like ACD queues or the webhooks, for example. And then option 5 is billing, so that you have a billing concern, i.e. your bill looked off or you had a credit card issue. But beyond that, I thank you for your time and hope you have a great rest of your day.